we've all done it. We've wandered down the main street of that coastal holiday town, beach bag in hand, wet from the surf, and we stopped to have a long, lustful look at the beach shacks and the getaways in the local real estate agent windows. Should I, we say to ourselves? Holiday homes are a luxury that few can afford, but of course we all fantasise about them as we hit countless coastal towns over the upcoming summer break. So can holiday homes ever be a good investment? And if you do take the plunge, how do you be so sure you don't get burnt? We're not talking about sunburn either. We want to tell you all about holidays as an investment with Jacque Parker. She's director of the Sydney-based buyers agency House Search Australia. Now, Prue and I were talking about this one in the week, and you say to people, oh, we're going to do this segment on holiday houses and investment, and people say, no, that's such a bad idea.
Oxymoron.
Yes. Is it a holiday house? Oh, is everyone right? Is it,
Look, absolutely. Most of the time, holiday homes, and who wouldn't want a holiday home? I mean,
yes.
we all would.
We all want to dream of them.
But the reality is that they cost a lot more to run than your normal investment property. And
so are they a lifestyle choice, not an investment?
Absolutely. Most of the time they are.
So you're just fooling yourself into buying it by saying, I'll make money out of this.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, you're just fooling yourself.
And not taking into account all of the costs and the reality of
What sort of costs are they?
Look, there's usually higher management costs for a start, and a lot of people don't realise that even when you buy an investment, a holiday home for yourself, and you're renting it out during the periods that you're not there, the property management costs are higher. On a normal investment property, they're about 6%. On a holiday place, they're about 16%. So that's one cost that people don't realise, the management costs. The second thing, obviously, are cleaning and maintenance costs. When you've got short-term tenants, they're more likely to break things. Things are going to break down. So that's another cost that people don't take into account. And higher rates as well. Usually in regional areas, which is where people buy holiday homes, and on the coast, rates are higher. So that's something to take into account. And land tax is another huge one.
None of these things you see in the window as you're cruising by with your latte in your hand. I could do this every day.
Totally wreck it.
Where's the romance in that?
So all of those measures, I guess, when you're putting it into metrics on if it's going to be an investment, on all of those measures, it could really just fall over, couldn't it?
It could, absolutely. Yeah. And you've got to be really, I suppose, approach it from an investment point of view as well as a holiday home.
Because you want to limit the potential damage. And
the cash flow, it's really important. You want to get some income from a property. You don't want it to be a constant drain on your back pocket.
Yeah. People who want you to buy them so they can stay at your place say, oh, but it's all a tax deduction. It's huge cost, but it's all a tax deduction, but it doesn't balance out.
No, that's not quite true, Prue, because it's not a tax deduction when you stay in the property for your personal use or your family or friends stay there. If you do rent it out during the year as a short-term thing, or if it's available for rent, if it's advertised for rent, and the ATO take a very dim view on what advertising for rent means, you've got to make sure that it's advertised in the right places.
Yes, because you're alluding to the fact, some people will say, oh, you can rent this for $5,000 a night, and of course no one takes that up.
Absolutely.
But you say, oh, but it's available for rent, it's a tax deduction, so you can't do that.
You can't do that, and but you can claim for the times that it is rented.
How do you work that out?
Look, the best people to speak to are quantity surveyors about that. They can actually do a depreciation schedule after settlement when you buy the property, and then your accountant can work out the pro rata.
After you've bought. Yes. So that's when you find out it was a really bad idea. So that's what I mean, can you get a gauge of these kinds of things before you buy?
Absolutely.
How do you go about that?
But one of the best things that you can do is actually talk to property managers in the area who manage these holiday lets and ask them about the vacancy rate. Because most of us have this glamorous idea that we're going to go and live in this holiday home for all of the peak periods of the seasons, and then we're going to rent it out during the low periods. But the reality is, and even in seaside towns, popular ones, that most of the vacancy rates are actually quite high. So, half of the time the property is vacant and not getting any income. So you need to ask that question and ask to see the rental ledger as well.
We were just talking to somebody moments ago about expensive vacation lets, the really expensive ones. Is it sometimes wiser then to go whole hog, to spend a lot more money than you would spend for your own holiday home investment, thinking that you would get that luxury market come into rent?
Look, I think it's a little bit risky to do that because you're buying well above the median for the area. And, you know, the higher the price of the property, the higher the price of the costs and the running costs.
If you get 40,000 a week, that's got to take a big nudge out of the mortgage, hasn't it? That's the mortgage payments. No, actually, it's so expensive. It's not, is it?
No,
it's
it
just
isn't.
not.
No, and it doesn't make sense when you consider that you could go to a different place every season, a more exotic location, and save the money that you would have otherwise been drained.
Okay, so and you're a buyer's agent. We've mentioned that. So some of your clients will come and say, look, I want a holiday house. I don't want to lose heaps on it. I kind of like the idea of it being an investment. How do you advise them? What's the process or the steps that you go through?
Look, usually because we only buy in Sydney, we're only buying, city crash pads for people from the country. So we do go through all of those costings with them, and we do interview property managers about the likely vacancy rate and how long it is going to be occupied for, and also their advice about what to put in the property. So things like furniture, which can be depreciated, they're going to assist. But you do need to be really careful and maintain a realistic approach to the cash flow on an investment property versus a holiday home.
An interesting point. So instead of Beautiful Bateman's Bay, which we can see here with skateboarders and beaches, the city crash pad.
Yes,
that's the better investment.
The pied à terre.
Well, also you're likely to get a lot more investment return out of that because it's a capital city. And so if you consider the growth rate on a capital city like Sydney versus a regional centre like Port Macquarie, Bondi, for example, is a good example. Houses in Bondi over the last 10 years have averaged 7.5% per annum capital growth, compared to Port Macquarie, 2.75%. So when you look at it from an investment point of view, I know where I'd rather put my money. I'd rather buy something, that's going to have longer-term capital growth.
Do you have any hot spots in holiday areas that you like?
Look, I like lots of hot spots. But look, I think if you're going to be looking in New South Wales, look at those coastal towns, and particularly coastal towns because they seem to be where people buy holiday places, near major airports. So, little towns near bigger centres like Sawtell, for example, near Coffs Harbour. That's a really lovely little town. Lennox Head, even further north, Kingscliff. Those areas are quite appealing because if you want to get away for a quick weekend, you can jump on a plane.
Just a commuter.
Exactly. Exactly. So, they're always going to have more appeal.
Oh, great. Soon to the Sunshine Coast. Yes. I want to go now.
Yes, so do I.
Actually, holiday talks, aren't we?
Not far off. We're almost there, aren't we?
Yes.
For the summer holidays. Jackie, that's great. Thanks for chatting with us today.
My pleasure.
All those hidden costs.
Yes.
Some you definitely don't think of until it's way too late. Thank you very much. Jacque Parker, Director of the Buyers Agency House Search Australia. Thanks. Well, coming up after the break here on Sky News Real Estate.